Hi guys, and welcome to Freckle Finance. Today I want to talk to you about things that I didn't go so cheap on for my wedding. In a previous video I did things that I went frugal on and saved money on for my wedding, and this is a video to talk about the things that I felt were important to spend money on. I want to start by saying that it's really up to the couple what they want to spend their money on and what they want to save their money on for a wedding. I'm no way saying that this is what you should save your money on and this is what you should spend your money on in a wedding. If something's more important to you or less important to you, that's where you should focus your money for the wedding. So don't think that I'm saying this is what you should do for your wedding. This is just what I did for my wedding and what we thought was where we wanted to spend our money and where we wanted to save our money. So the first item is flowers. Now, I'm not spending as much as I've heard other people spend on weddings, but flowers really aren't a necessity. Now, yeah, you can have a centerpiece and all that stuff, and I am using some fresh flowers for the centerpiece. However, it's really not a necessity, and that's why I'm putting it as things that I didn't save money on. What I am spending is going to be about $865, and that's just for some very basic flowers. I was really surprised at how much it did come out to. I thought I could get a lot cheaper. But I did want fresh flowers at my wedding, and so that's what it costs. Kind of expensive, I know. The second item is wedding cake, and I'm adding it to this category because we weren't even going to originally have a wedding cake, and then we decided that we wanted it. But then once again, I'm still not spending a ton of money on my wedding cake. It's going to be about $200, and that includes delivery or whatever. I'm not going to any fancy store. I'm not even really caring that it tastes that great. I'm just kind of having the wedding cake because it's kind of an expectation, and I decided that I will allow this expectation to be at my wedding. Plus, I got a really cute set of cake cutting set, and I kind of want to have that beside a cake. A little ridiculous, I know, but that's something that I'm spending money on for my cake, but for my wedding. But like I said, some people spend a lot more money on cake. I've heard over $1,000. I don't know, I think that's crazy, but that's what some people spend. So the third item, and really our biggest category, there's really nothing else that we spend a ton of money on, which would be our venue. And this is where pretty much all of our wedding budget goes to. Now for us, when we were looking at wedding venues, there was venues that were a lot cheaper that were kind of, they didn't really appeal to us. They weren't very nice. We wanted a very beautiful venue where we can just do everything there on site. And this venue has it. This place is essentially a wedding factory in the sense that they basically only do weddings and they are very good at it. The reviews online for the place are great. And so even though it was a bit more expensive than what we originally wanted to spend on it, it to us was far superior to everything else that was just a little bit cheaper. So for us, it was worth it to spend that bit of extra money. But as a per person cost, this venue is kind of expensive. Our venue also comes with on-site food and alcohol. They don't allow catering or anything, but it was one of the big reasons we also picked it. If I tell anyone, oh, I'm getting married at X place, they're like, oh, I've been there, I went to a wedding there, it was beautiful, the food was great, and I kind of didn't want to go to a wedding where the food wasn't very good. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you know that I am very much a foodie. I love cooking and all that stuff, and I want to ensure that my guests are getting good food at my wedding that tastes great. And so, yeah, it's a little expensive to get good food at a wedding, but that was very important to me. And as well, it was important for us to provide our guests with alcohol. So we are paying for an open bar, and that's very expensive. And I'm not saying that everyone has to have an open bar or that you're cheap or whatever if you don't. But we are providing an open bar, which is making our wedding budget really kind of a little expensive, much more than we were originally planning on doing. But yeah, I don't have the exact numbers on how much our venue will cost because we don't really have our guest count yet. But definitely adding the open bar in will probably add approximately $3,000 extra just based on how many guests come. I'm not really sure. I will do a video afterwards on the final numbers when I have how many guests and they give us our final bill and everything. But yeah. As well as in a sense of going over budget or what we initially anticipated to do, with the open bar, our package came with a 5-hour open bar, which I thought would work fine because I thought that I could start my reception later. And it turns out that I can't, and I didn't want to close the bar off at 11 o'clock at night or just have this weird, awkward 1-hour gap where there was no alcohol served or anything. Like, this isn't during dinner or whatever, because the bar isn't open during dinner either. It's just wine. So we had to add an extra hour of bar, which ended up being a bit of money per person to add. But then again, we wanted to do the open bar, and so we're gonna go for it. We're gonna pay that extra money so everyone can have alcohol till 12 o'clock at night. So essentially, we were willing to basically make everything else in our budget super cheap so that we could have a beautiful venue with good food and with an open bar so that our guests don't have to pay for it. I did do the calculations. This is obviously, I don't know how many guests are actually coming, so it's an approximate, but with my current estimations, our venue, including our ceremony, which is going to be at the same venue, is 70% of our total budget for a wedding. So that's actually a huge portion. Most people don't spend that much on the wedding venue compared to all the other costs. However, in order to try to keep our wedding in budget, we've done that so that we and we've gone cheap on everything else. Like, not cheap, but we've tried to find deals and get things as inexpensive as we possibly can. So yeah, keep in mind that if you're going to be prioritizing venue, food, alcohol, that kind of thing at your wedding, it's the worst thing you can prioritize in respects to keeping a budget or inexpensive wedding, just because it costs so much. It's literally one of the most expensive things. It's the hardest thing to really cut down on. Places that have good reviews are obviously going to be a bit expensive. Now, keeping that in mind, I'm still not spending a ridiculous amount on my wedding, but it still is a huge chunk of money that we're paying for the venue. That it's a little crazy in my opinion, but hopefully it's going to be amazing. So we'll see. And I do want to add one little splurge that we added, or I'm going to call it a splurge. We are paying for an organist to pay at our ceremony. Our ceremony is only about 30 minutes long, and he was like $100 and something just for the organist. And I'm calling it that because it's just a little thing that you can add to the wedding, and it's like, oh, it's only $100. But if you continually add tons of little things to the wedding, it will make your budget creep up a lot, and you'll be spending a lot more on the wedding. But this is one thing. I was like crying when I heard the organist, and I just had to add him, but I don't know. I think it's going to be beautiful, and I think it's worth it to add the organist, but don't add too many little things if you don't want to, if they're not a priority to you. So just remember, for your wedding, don't do what I'm doing necessarily. Do what you want to do. Prioritize what you want to prioritize. And most of all, like, don't put your wedding on a credit card or anything like that. Make sure you have the money to be able to afford what you're doing. I wouldn't have gone over budget on any of this stuff if I couldn't afford to do it. I would for sure have gone cheaper and just been like, for me, the priority is not putting things on a credit card. That would be topmost over everything else, over food, over venue, over alcohol, all of that. So keep that in mind when you're planning your wedding, or if you're planning a wedding. And yeah, and also, yes, just prioritize what you want to prioritize. Don't do what I did necessarily. If you find these videos interesting and informative and you want to learn more, please click subscribe, as I will be uploading videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Have a good day. Bye.